Former Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin is jumping in the race for Connecticut's 1st District. The Navy veteran who served in Afghanistan and the Obama administration is trying to replace longtime Congressman John Larson, who's held the seat for nearly 3 decades. And joining me now is Luke Bronin. Good morning, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
There's been a lot of speculation about your political future. Will he run for governor? Will he run for Congress? Ultimately, you decided the latter. Why do you want to go to Washington, D.C., and what change will you bring?
Well, because I think the biggest threat to our democracy, to the ability to live a good middle-class life, to so many things that matter is coming out of Washington, D.C. right now. I think the country is in a moment of crisis right now, and I think if we're being honest with ourselves, the Democratic Party is in a moment of crisis right now, and we need to do some things in a different way, and I want to help be part of that and make the change that I think we need.
In your campaign announcement video, you said you're worried for the Democratic Party. You said they need generational change, they need fresh faces. Why do you think you could be part of that change?
Well, look, I think first of all, most of your viewers that saw me as mayor for 8 years. You saw me work 24/7, 365, fighting for my city and getting out and all around the communities around Hartford and making the case that we all rise or fall together. And that's the kind of energy and urgency that I'll bring to the work as a congressman. I think that we have to be fighting for making life better and easier and more affordable for everybody. Whether you're talking about health care or child care or housing or electricity. And we also have to be communicating in just a much more relentless way as a Democratic Party.
You mentioned energy. Age is a big part of this race. You're 31 years. John Larson's Jr. He wants to hold his seat, and he says in Washington they need consistency. They also need experience. I want you to listen to a soundbite from our interview from last week.
Having the experience, having been there in a system of seniority, you have to work your way up to ultimately get a committee chairmanship. And I will be the chairman of the Social Security Committee. And that's my focus. And the mayor has criticized me for focusing on that, but 97% of the American people all want to see, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or independent, you want to make sure that that's there for you.
And he is obviously talking about him earning his seniority in Washington, D.C. You would be a freshman congressman. How would you respond to what he had to say?
Look, let me say a few things. First of all, I have a huge amount of respect for John Larson. It's important to remember, John's been the chairman of the Social Security Subcommittee at a time when we had the White House and the Senate and the House of Representatives, and he wasn't able to get the bill done that he's been working on for more than a decade. But more importantly than that, look, I think I bring a different set of experiences. As you said, I served in Afghanistan. I served in the Obama administration. 2 years as legal counsel to our governor, and then 8 years as mayor through some of the toughest years that our city's ever faced.
Pandemic.
And through the pandemic and a lot else. And bringing those experiences, I think, is important too. But maybe most important is that, with all respect, John's talking about the system down there. Maybe we need to change that system. Maybe you shouldn't have to be in Congress for 30 years to be able to make a change. And I think we're already starting to see that happen. There are a number of younger members of Congress who are extremely influential voices, not just in the Democratic Party, but in our country on matters of policy that matter to everybody. And I think that as a Democratic Party, we better stop saying that we accept the way things have always been done and start being willing to make some bigger change.
You want to break the status quo. I do want to ask you, for voters out there who are contemplating who to vote for in this race, how do you separate yourself from John Larson in terms of policy priorities?
Yeah, look, let me say, I will be a fierce defender of Social Security. I want Social Security to be there for not just people who are collecting it now, but for myself, for my kids. I will pick up that mantle and fight that fight. But it can't be the only thing we talk about. At this moment, when there are so many pressures that everybody's feeling, again, we talk about housing, health care, child care. We better be talking about those things. We better be spending more time on them. In addition to that, the world is changing faster than it ever has, right? Whether you're talking about climate and weather, whether you're talking about technology and AI, our economy, the way people communicate. And I think we better start changing too, or we're going to miss the chance to do the things that we need to do in this moment of change.
And I imagine affordability is going to be a centerpiece of
all of that
as well.
goes under the umbrella of affordability. It has to be possible to build and live a good middle-class life again.
Former Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin, thank you so much for joining us
Thanks
this
for
morning.
having me.
You're welcome anytime here in Fox 61.
I appreciate it.